The regular meeting of the Aurora City Council for Monday, November 27, 2023 is called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Kaufman.
Here.
Councilmember Bergen. Here. Councilmember Coombs.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Here.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Here.
Councilmember Lawson.
Here.
Councilmember Marcano.
Present.
Councilmember Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Murillo.
Present.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Here.
And Councilmember Zvonek.
Here.
There's a quorum.
Announcement of the public call-in line.
City Council welcomes feedback from the public on both matters appearing on the agenda and during public invited to be heard. If you would like to speak and have not already spoken to an operator, please press *3. For those watching on Channel 8, call 855-695-3475 and press *3 when connected. You will hear a prompt confirming you're in line to speak to an operator and then be able to continue listening to the meeting. When the operator comes on the line, please be ready to give them your name and agenda item you wish to speak on. Keep in mind you must press *3 before the city clerk reads the title of the item you wish to speak on. Finally, as a reminder, Council does not allow comments about any items on the agenda during public invited to be heard. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes, and public invited to be heard is limited to 1 hour in total.
El Consejo Municipal de la Ciudad de Aurora da la bienvenida a la opinión de sus habitantes y otros vecinos en asuntos comparecientes en la agenda y durante la invitación a la audiencia. Esta sesión tiene disponible interpretación en español. Por favor, háganos saber si usted necesita este servicio. Recuerde que el Consejo no permite comentarios de la audiencia mientras se dirigen asuntos de la agenda del día. Por favor, confirme su turno y espere a la invitación para el comentario público. Gracias.
Please join me in a moment of silence to mourn the loss of life in the Middle East and in Ukraine. And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The executive session update. In executive session, we discussed litigation, status of litigation. Approval of the minutes for November 13, 2023. A motion is in order.
Mayor, I move to approve the minutes.
It's moved by Councilmember Sundberg, seconded by?
Mayor, I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Lawson to approve the minutes for November 13, 2023. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the approval of the minutes.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Jurenski. Okay. Okay, the motion passes.
National Co-Responder and Crisis Responder Recognition Week. Would those accepting this please come down? Aurora Mobile Response Team. Whereas the City of Aurora is a leader in co-response and targeted violence prevention and is internationally and nationally recognized for its efforts in providing critical crisis intervention to those who need it most in the Aurora community, and whereas the City of Aurora values innovative and trauma-informed approaches to public safety to provide the Aurora community with the right response at the right time, and whereas Aurora recognizes that no 911 call is the same, and each deserve an individualized response based on the totality of the circumstances, and whereas our city and police department partnered with UC Health and Falck Rocky Mountain to create a continuum of crisis services. The Aurora Mobile Response Team, the APD Crisis Response Team, and the Targeted Violence Prevention Program, and whereas Aurora hears the community and prioritizes meeting the needs expressed by the community, our Aurora Police Department, Aurora Fire Rescue, and EMS service providers by investing in the City of Aurora crisis programs to alleviate the strain on our public safety agencies, and whereas the first National Co-Responder and Crisis Responder Recognition Week occurred September 18th to the 22nd, 2023, and through belatedly, the City of Aurora recognizes the brave men and women of the City of Aurora crisis response programs for their selfless dedication to the Aurora community. Now, therefore, I, Mike Hoffman, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim September 18th to 22nd, 2023 as National Co-Responder and Crisis Responder Recognition Week, a witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Aurora, Colorado to be affixed this 27th day of November 2023. Mike Hoffman, Mayor of Aurora, Colorado. Let's see. I wonder if each one of you could identify yourself. And you're?
My name is Art. I'm your police chief.
Go ahead, just pass it down.
I'm Commander Scott Pendleton. I had the pleasure of working with these great people for 3 years, and they do a fantastic job. I'm proud of every one of them.
I'm Sergeant Tom Graham.
Ariel Solomon, Senior Clinical Supervisor with UC Health.
The AMRT EMT, Noah Miller.
I'm Tanda Soshami, the crisis clinician with the Aurora Mobile Response Team.
I'm Morgan Gandara-Bear. I'm the data analyst for the crisis response programs.
I'm Jessica Grice. I'm one of the crisis responders.
Lexi, crisis response and clinician for the Targeted Violence Prevention Program.
Josie Salazar with the crisis response team and the case coordinator for the Targeted Violence Prevention Program.
Marielle Tellez. I'm the case coordinator for the CR crisis response team and our mobile response team.
And I'm Officer David Campbell.
Officer Alan Buchholz.
Officer Wagner.
And I'm Courtney Tassi. I'm the Crisis Intervention Program Manager. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. All right, crisis responder, let's see, the Aurora Mobile Response Team. Right. No, this one, this is.
I think they're the same one, they just printed two.
Okay,
programs.
okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You know, I'll take this. Public invited to be heard, and I want to remind people here or listening in that if you're here for an agenda item, that you will speak when that agenda item comes up. But if you're here, if you want to speak on something that is not on the agenda, please do so.
Okay, Mayor, there are 3 members of the public that want to speak, and the first one is Paul Egan, followed by Eric Schanholzer.
Hello, My name is Paul Egan. I'm the Director of Ready to Work in Aurora, located at 3176 South Peoria Court. I'm here to ask that you reconsider a funding reduction to the MJ grant. Ready to Work has been a partner with the city since 2018. Most recently, we graduated 43 people. We work with people who are long-term chronic homeless, and so it doesn't. We can't resolve it within 30 days.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That is an agenda item that will come up, and I'll recognize you when it does. Thank you. Yes. But they're speaking on the item. It doesn't matter. Okay. Are you sure? But isn't there an agenda item that will cut that, or when we adopt the? Okay,
Mayor.
very well. I stand. Yes.
Sorry for the confusion. It wasn't on the agenda because it was cut during our study session. However, there's a possibility that in the spring we do a spring supplemental, and that might be reconsidered.
Very well. I'm sorry. I'm staying corrected. Go ahead.
So we estimate the reduction to be about $136,000. And we ask that you reconsider. We put your money to good use. We get people who have been homeless, chronic homeless, and so it doesn't require, we can't resolve it within 30 days or 60 days. We're a 2-year program, so they live in residence for a year, and we follow up with 1 year of aftercare. So we're taking people who haven't been able to maybe get a job but can't keep a job, can get housing but can't keep housing. We do both. And so there's only 2 locations in the state where a program like ours exists, one here, one in Boulder, and one very soon in Inglewood. But we're unique that we can solve this problem over the long term, because it's not like I said, it's not a 60-day fix, it's not a 90-day fix. It fully takes about 2 years, and I assure you we're putting your money to good use. That we teach people how to be a member of the community. We were a ballot drop-off site during this past election, and some of you spoke, and it was great having you out, and the participation was remarkable. And so we want to teach our guys how to be members of the community, of the city of Aurora. When they're homeless, they cost about $50,000 to be homeless in Aurora. Once we get them working and paying rent, they bring about a positive $28,000 impact to the city, so it nets $78,000. I'm told to be brief, but I just want to assure you we're putting your funding to good use, and I ask that you reconsider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Eric Shanholzer, followed by Robbie G. Young.
We're good for the first time doing that, maybe. Hi, everybody. I'm also going to speak on something very serious, littering. It seems it's been almost a month since the election, and I still drive around and see yard signs out in, not in the yards, in the public thoroughfares. If you guys could please clean your stuff up. We got 3 elections next year. We don't want to see the stuff from this election anymore. And check where your stuff is, because there were signs along the road across the street here, and Center Point is an election site, so those very well could be violations of federal law, the stuff alongside there. Okay, thanks. My name, as you said, Eric Shanholzer. I live in Aurora. Thank you.
Robbie DeYoung, followed by Cassie Ratliff.
Everyone, I agree. The signs need to be taken down, and there's one person that isn't physically here that has the most signs up. Okay, there's 4 things I want to touch on real quick. We're going to have a new city manager here pretty soon. We need a full-time official police chief as well, instead of an interim police chief. So we need to work on that. I'd like each of you to go to your wards and check with your residents to find out what kind of problems they're having with the fiber optics being put in by CenturyLink. We had an incident over in Seven Hills where instead of laying concrete down on the sidewalk that they tore up, they put asphalt. And it's literally like this on the asphalt. They didn't even try and level it. I got that addressed last week. They were out today working on it, but they've had to completely close off that section of the sidewalk. And that's pretty much around the outer edge of Seven Hills. So that needs to be addressed. I still want the city to consider getting an impound lot rather than using M&M to collect the stolen vehicles in the area and even the abandoned vehicles. The last one I'm kind of upset about. It was taken care of, thank you. I live right where I can walk out my front door and I can see my church. And for weeks, there was one of the hydrants for the church that was covered up. There was another hydrant on the other end of the church, but there was one that was covered up. Finally found out that somebody apparently maybe wrecked into it and cracked it, and so they couldn't use it. And I was told that day that it would probably be a couple of weeks more before they got that fire hydrant taken care of. That was unacceptable. The city was out the next day, or the fire department was out. It was a combination, and the hydrant was replaced immediately. However, I was told that there are multiple fire hydrants that need to be replaced in the city. So again, if each of you could go to your wards and find out where these fire hydrants are that need to be replaced. Not one fire hydrant should be inoperable. That could cause, if my church had caught on fire, and you've been in my building, if that had caught on fire, we're right by a wetland.
Ms. DeYoung, your time is up.
So we need to get that addressed, please. Thank you.
Cassie Ratliff.
Hi everyone, my name is Cassie Ratliff. I am the Chief Impact Officer at Family Tree. Family Tree is extremely disappointed in the decision to not fund our program with either the marijuana funds or the ESG funding. Last year, Family Tree received $97,000 in marijuana funds for our Goals program within the city of Aurora. Goals provides emergency residential services to families experiencing homelessness. We utilize a two-generation approach, working with the adults and the children and whoever was in their home with them. This model integrates child-focused services, parent and caregiver services, and adult-focused services. Our Goals program prioritizes residents of Aurora as well as Arapahoe County. In fact, to date, 91% of the clients in this program are from the city of Aurora. This is up from last year, where it was at 50%. Although the majority of our clients come from the city of Aurora, the marijuana funds that we received last year only covered about 17% of those services. We work diligently with our funders, including both local and state governments, foundations, and private donors, to ensure that we are able to operate services and meet these needs of Aurora residents. Family Tree recognizes that there was a significant reduction in funds this year, and the city had to make hard decisions. However, this is coming at a time when homelessness is on a rise and family homelessness has doubled over the last 2 years. Programs like Family Tree are continuously being asked to leverage the current funding that we have to raise more money to cover services. I'm here to tell you there is no more leveraging. We are leveraged out. This has been done. It is imperative that our cities help us meet the needs of the Aurora residents experiencing homelessness. In fact, at the beginning of 2024, without this funding, there will be a homeless shelter within the city of Aurora that receives zero funding from the city of Aurora. We encourage the city to reconsider this decision and look for the additional resources needed to meet these needs. It is extremely hard to do this work without you and your support. Thank you for your time.
Okay, those are all the speakers.
Land acknowledgement. The City of Aurora acknowledges that we gather on the territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapaho, and Lakota peoples, past and present. We also recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. Indigenous peoples have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties that these nations have to their traditional homelands and to their vital place in the ecosystem are renewed and reaffirmed, and we are called to be better stewards of the land we inhabit as we continue to work to meet the needs of our entire community. Motion is in order for the adoption of the agenda.
Mayor, I move to adopt the agenda.
Oh,
It's moved by Councilmember Sundberg, seconded by
Zavonic.
Councilmember Zwanek to adopt the agenda.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Bergen.
I'd like to make a change in the agenda.
Very well.
To approve the agenda, but to continue item 10C1 and through 10C4 until the second meeting in January, as we are reevaluating our committees
Let's see, 10C1.
through 10C4.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Zwanek. Further amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of the agenda as amended. That is with, 10C1 to 10C4, and they would continue to win
Second meeting in January?
to the second regular meeting in January. Discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So I'm just wondering, what is the reconsideration of the committees?
There has been discussion, actually, I thought you were on that committee to look at consolidating some of the committees since we have over 30, and it requires a lot of staff resources and time. So that was one of the things. Also, I think it would give opportunity to just at the beginning of the year with a new council member coming on board, just to open up the positions to the public for consideration.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So I don't think that there's anything that would be completed by the second meeting in January that would make the necessary changes. I think that's a relatively long discussion about how we're going to consolidate, and most of these committees are not ones that would likely be impacted. I think Cultural Affairs is probably the only one. Some of these committees are not set by, they're set by code for certain kind of legally required purposes, like the Public Defender Commission we're required to have in order to meet the legal requirement of independence. So I'm a little confused about the idea that we would actually have significantly different committee structure by that time.
Mayor?
Okay. Further discussion on the Bergen Amendment. Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, well, that's one point, but the other point is also just to, I have heard from some constituents that are interested in applying for the commissions and boards, and just trying to give more time for those applicants to apply.
Further discussion on the Bergen Amendment to the agenda, adoption of the agenda.
Mayor?
Councilmember Coombs.
So the commissions have already interviewed, made recommendations, so they're going to have to re-interview and make recommendations, even though there were sufficient applications for them to hold interview processes. So again, that to me seems unusual and not a great use of their time or the staff time.
Further discussion on the Bergen Amendment to the agenda, adoption of the agenda. Seeing none, call for the question on the Bergen Amendment to the adoption of the agenda.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Gardner.
No.
And Councilmember Jurenski?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
80.
No votes from Councilmember Medina, Councilmember Coombs, Councilmember Murillo, and Councilmember Gardner.
Very well. Are there further amendments to the adoption of the agenda? Seeing none, further discussion on the adoption of the agenda as amended? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of the agenda as amended. Call for the question.
Mayor?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm not sure if y'all are able to hear me. No, that's Councilmember Marcano. I voted no on that as well. Katie, you haven't been calling me, but I am present.
Very well.
Yes, we have you in.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember, or Mayor Kaufman?
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Gardner?
No.
Councilmember Jurenski?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes with one no vote from Councilmember Gardner.
The question before us is the adoption of the consent calendar on motions. Item number 10A1 to 10C4.
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
I move to adopt the consent agenda with items 10A6, 10A9, 10A13, 10A15, 10A16, 10A17, 10A20, 10A21, and 10A22 removed.
Very well. I'm sorry.
I think the clerk.
You've got this?
Cecilia, did you track those?
Yes, remove 10A6, 10A9, 10A13, 10A15, 10A16, 10A17, 10A20, 10A21, and 10A22.
Okay. Very well. What is left? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Okay. The question before us is are there further amendments to the consent calendar motions? Seeing none, then the consent calendar as amended on motions. I'm sorry.
Mayor, I think we need a second.
It was moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by
Medina. Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Medina. Discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of the agenda as amended.
Okay, Mayor, give me just a moment. We're having technical difficulties with.
Okay. Oh, did you get these? Okay. What's the first one? 10A6. Okay. 6. 13 then what?
Okay, Mayor Kaufman?
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Lawson?
Yes.
Councilmember Bergen?
Yes.
And Councilmember Jurenski?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
No, that's Councilmember Marcano.
Marcano.
Thank you. I just would like to ask the clerk why she's not calling for me to vote on these. I also vote yes.
Okay. Give me just a moment.
Yes, I apologize, but WebEx's firewall is not allowing me to join on my computer, nor is it allowing me to use eScribe. So
Okay, my apologies. You should be able to see it on your end, Councilmember Marcano, but I'll call it if it's not coming in.
Probably has to do with overseas.
Cecilia, I think he doesn't have eScribe right now because he can't get into the computer.
Okay,
He's overseas.
I'll call him up.
thank you.
Are we ready? Okay. Would the clerk now please read the title to item number 10A6?
Okay, 10A6 is the Homelessness Notice of Funding Opportunity Application Recommendations, Aurora Housing Authority, marijuana.
Brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Emma Knight. I'm the manager of our homeless programs for the city of Aurora. I'm just going to do a really brief presentation on kind of an overview of all the NOFO because I couldn't quite keep track of the full number. So with questions afterwards. So the city of Aurora sought proposals from nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and public agencies for homeless services. And we had funds available of Emergency Solutions Grant, Home Tenant-Based Rental Assistance Grant, or Home TBRA, marijuana funds, and Public Safety Assistance Grant. In total of marijuana funds, we had $1.4 million available. In ESG, we had $213,088 available. Public safety, we had $140,000. And Home TBRA, we had $200,000 available, which made a total of $1,952,000 available to recommend for funding this year. In total, we had 11 agencies apply and and 25 applications, which totaled over $5 million in requested funds. Our review panel reviewed applications in September and October. Our review panel was made up of City of Aurora staff, staff from Metro Denver Homeless Initiative, and staff from Arapahoe County. The NOFO panel specifically was looking for applications which addressed essential life-saving services, strategic plan alignment for the Aurora at Home Collaborative, prior grant compliance, and agencies' other funding streams. For total recommendations, I'll go through each agency. In Mile High Behavioral Health Care, we are recommending $933,000 of total recommendations, and these include all funding streams in these totals. Colorado Safe Parking Initiative for $75,000, Aurora Mental Health and Recovery, $100,000, Gateway Domestic Violence, $98,219, Salvation Army, $254,869, Restoration Christian Ministries, $175,000, Aurora Housing Authority, $300,000, and Sungate Kids, $17,000. We did not recommend for funding Bridge House, Ready to Work, Family Tree, or Colorado Coalition for the Homeless.
Questions of staff? Well, motion is in order for 10A6.
Mayor, there are 3 speakers for item 10A6 on the call-in line.
Very well. Great.
First, we have Naomi. Naomi, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Kaufman and members of the Aurora City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comment on agenda item 10A6, the homelessness notice of funding opportunity application recommendation. Note that my comments apply to the corresponding agenda items associated with this notice of funding opportunity application recommendation. My name again is Naomi Yamaha, and I serve as the Director of Policy and Government Affairs for the Denver Foundation. We are a community foundation with a history of grant making to nonprofits in Aurora and across the 7 counties in Metro Denver that are working to address housing security and provide services for individuals and families that are experiencing homelessness. As a funder, we recognize our role in the ecosystem of addressing timely community needs through grant making. We are fortunate to work with those in Aurora, including nonprofits in the city, to support efforts for those experiencing homelessness and to ensure that more people aren't becoming homeless. We also advocate for systems change to address the root causes of housing security. Through this work, and what we hear from our stakeholders, including nonprofits and community leaders, that the support needed for those experiencing homelessness varies based on their lived experience and life circumstances. We also hear how critical emergency shelters, wraparound services, and job placement assistance are, in addition to providing funding to prevent individuals and families from becoming homeless, such as emergency rental assistance and support for paying utility bills are critical, especially as we're heading into the colder months. There's significant work happening in Aurora to address the varying needs of those experiencing homelessness or on the verge of homelessness. These organizations, as we can see tonight, are responding to the call of city leaders to provide these services, and they have the experience and commitment to work in partnership with Aurora. In closing, as you discuss the proposed contracts, we consider additional discussion to figure out alternative funding options to help ensure that the organizations that applied for funding are able to maintain their current funding levels so that they can continue providing the essential services and housing options. We thank you for your consideration of this request and your work on this issue, and we look forward to future conversations on how we can work to address the root causes of homelessness. Thank you.
Mayor?
Councilmember Jaworski.
I'm getting some messages that there is no sound online for our meeting.
Very well. Let's take a recess.
I think the issue is with Comcast only is what we're hearing. Yeah, so the issue is it's with the Comcast broadcast only. If they go to the auroratv.org, it should be good there, and then the YouTube stream as well.
It's a technical problem from Comcast that they're working on it now. Some people are seeing it being restored, some have not. So auroratv.org is the best option at this point.
Okay, very well. Okay, let's see, we've already moved and seconded item number 10A6, correct?
Yeah, I think there's 2 more public comment.
Yes, there's 2 more public comment on the line.
Yes, next we have Melissa. Melissa, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Kaufman, members of Aurora City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight on agenda item 10A6, but my comments really apply to all the related items through this one through 10.8.24. So my name is Melissa Mejia. I am the head of state and local policy for the Community Economic Defense Project. CEDP is primarily a direct service organization that provides rental and mortgage assistance, eviction and foreclosure defense, case management, and resource navigation to families in Aurora and the greater metro area and across Colorado. Our team sees firsthand the impacts of our current housing and eviction crisis and work with families daily who are on the brink of losing their housing and have nowhere left to turn. The responsibility for caring for those who live in a city is the responsibility of the community, of local organizations like ours, and of local government. It is truly the partnership that makes all of this work, that makes any of this effective. Federal money helps to fund shelters, and so it is part of the city's role and responsibility to help provide those shelters, and often in partnership with other organizations that we then partner with to try and help get people into more stable and long-term situations. Although a one-time investment as proposed here cannot solve this problem in the long term, we know that there's a plan to hopefully restructure the homelessness services funding throughout the city of Aurora as a result of this upcoming homelessness navigation campus. And it is incredibly vital that as that long-term work is done, as we look towards this vision of the future, that we ensure that there's a bridge in funding to secure the sheltering services until the city establishes what the future state of services looks like. We know that the numbers of how many people are experiencing homelessness in the city are hard to come by. And while the PIT counts that we tend to rely on do give an undercount of people, especially when they are conducted on cold nights, as this most recent one was, that is the best data point that we have, and we have to presume, much like eviction numbers that we know are an undercount of families who are experiencing displacement, that is the best number we have to go on, and we know that the actual need is far greater. Even so, with that PIT count, the top two reasons individuals identified for finding themselves experiencing homelessness were inability to afford rent and facing eviction. Those are two issues that we know are only increasing in Colorado and the metro area. This problem is not going to get smaller, it is growing. As of today, there have been a total of 35,326 eviction filings in the state of Colorado. In Adams County and Aurora servicing Arapahoe County,
Melissa, your time is up.
Nearly as many. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Elena. Elena, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Kaufman and City Council members. My name is Alina, and I've actually worked as a tenant advocate distributing rental assistance in both Adams and Arapahoe County courts. Now I work as a policy manager to support state and local policies that create and support affordable, accessible, and dignified housing. Aurora is in both Adams County and Arapahoe County, as I'm certain you all know, both of which have had operational eviction defense clinics since 2022. And advocates, attorneys, and staff have all reported significantly higher numbers of people seeking services and who are facing evictions in both of those counties. Our communities are crying out for long-term investments in policies to combat these crises, like the homelessness crisis, the eviction crisis, the housing affordability crisis. But we also need short-term solutions to keep people safe in their own homes and in shelters, especially during these brutal cold winter months. We know that the percentage of Aurora's homeless population is unsheltered has actually increased in the past few years, according to Westward. And that's on top of households across Colorado citing profound anxiety about losing their housing because of increasing rents and being left to live on the street. We know that 70% of Coloradans who face eviction filings are ultimately ordered to leave their homes. So the connection between evictions and homelessness could not be more clear. And while we're doing everything we can to prevent evictions and keep people in their homes, getting rid of shelters and letting the funding lapse for the services that help people who have already experienced the worst possible situation, who have already lost their homes, doesn't actually make it easier for any of us to do that work in other parts of the pipeline. We know that affect a person's life. Someone who experiences eviction also experiences physical and mental health. It's hard to keep a job, and it's more likely that you will be institutionalized, incarcerated, or visit the emergency room. We also know that kids who are facing displacement and homelessness suffer even more than adults. So when we think about how do we keep our neighbors housed, how do we keep our communities safe, part of that looks like preventing evictions, which cause homelessness, and part of it looks like keeping up services and care for people who have already experienced those things. The crises we face are dire enough. We cannot also afford to lose our shelters by letting funding lapse. If we do not want to see more people living out of their cars or living on the streets, then we cannot continue to deprive people who need support abuse programs, the services and shelters they need. Thank you.
Motion is in order on item number 10A6.
Mayor.
No, Councilmember Coombs?
So I would like to move to approve the item with an amendment.
Let's move it first, and then we'll do the amendment.
Okay, then first I'll move to approve.
It's been, 10A6 has been moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by
Trinsky.
Councilmember Jurinsky. The Councilmember Coombs.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. So I would like to move to make an amendment to increase the amount of funding from $100,000 to $200,000. And I'd like to discuss a little bit the funding sources that we have available to us. There are $294,000 remaining from ARPA funds that were set aside for vaccination that were not used, and we have no future plans for additional vaccination clinics. There are $38,737 that were set aside for essential workers for ARPA, for a program that is no longer operational, and there are $1,659,054 in ARPA reserves that will need to be spent before they expire. And then in addition, we have $800,000 in general fund revenues unallocated in 2024 and 2025 after accounting for the projected shortfall. And we still have $845,000 of the $3 million that was presented to council for priorities that were unallocated. So that puts us at a total of $3,636,799 that are unallocated between ARPA and general funds through 2025. And that doesn't even account for the many millions of dollars in reserves that we have, both a recession reserve that council already implemented, our policy reserve that has been implemented by council for a number of years at this point, and then of course our operating reserves that we're required to maintain, and Tabor reserves. So we have millions and millions of dollars in reserves in the event of any unforeseen issues and expenses. So I would like to move that we take the funds from ARPA, since they have to be spent prior to expiring. But if council did not support doing that, we do have that additional $1.6 million of general funds that we could also tap into. So yeah, for this item, I would like to make an amendment to add $100,000 to the grant award for Aurora at Home, which provides rental assistance, case management, landlord mediation, and other homelessness prevention services. So that's to keep people in our city from becoming homeless to begin with.
I'll say, could you be specific as to, okay, this is coming from ARPA funds?
ARPA.
Unspent ARPA funds. Very well. Okay, it's moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by?
Marcano.
I'm sorry, seconded by Councilmember Marcano.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry?
No, he's second.
Mayor,
Okay. Discussion?
can I seek clarification, Mayor?
Councilmember Bergen.
Yeah, just clarification. You said 100,000 for Aurora at Home, and then what was the other 100?
Oh, that they're currently getting 100, so I was just recommending that we fund them another 100,000 to leave them at flat funding from 2023.
Okay, just for the rental assistance?
Yeah, so it's rental assistance, case management, landlord mediation. They provide a range of services.
Okay, further discussion?
Mayor, just a clarification. This is on 10A6?
Yeah.
The heading is Aurora Housing Authority. Is this a sub? Maybe I'm mistaken.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have put that in incorrectly.
Aurora at Home is
Yeah, it was like they're part of the same organization. So would it be considered a sub? I actually don't know exactly.
I mean, staff, could you comment?
the program is called Aurora at Home, but it is part of the Aurora Housing Authority.
Thank you.
Could staff explain the program again? Specifically?
I'd say Councilmember Coombs said it well. It is
Okay.
mostly landlord mediation, rental assistance, case management.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilmember Jersky.
I would like to also offer an amendment, and maybe we can combine this into one amendment. The 100,000 that Councilmember Coombs just said, I would also like 100,000 for Bridge House.
Would this appropriate to come up in this?
Because this is for the Aurora housing. It's
Right.
a particular item.
So
Yeah, this is 10A6.
So where do we get to, is there?
She can make
where
it
she
later.
then? Where can
Mayor.
it be made?
Right.
Mayor.
Councilmember Cruz.
So I definitely support that. There's a couple of other things that I would like to discuss that we didn't fund, so also Family Tree, that I couldn't amend because there's not an agenda item, like there's not a contract to amend, since we at study session didn't decide to move forward with trying to provide additional funding. Those items just didn't end up on the agenda. So I would welcome from staff any comments on what the process could look like for adding, at minimum, those two programs back into the funding from these ARPA funds.
Comments from staff?
If we're using different funding, we need new agreements. So if it's our general fund.
So if we're recommending an agreement that's not currently on the agenda, council could make that recommendation. We can bring that agreement back on a later agenda with the full agreement put together for those agencies that are not currently being recommended tonight.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be the ready to work. So Councilmember Jersky will bring that back then. Okay, just a question of staff. As we, in the 2004 budget, in terms of ARPA dollars and developing the campus, where we consolidate homeless services, what impact do these ARPA dollars that Councilmember Coombs is referring to have any impact on that?
No, we have a dedicated ARPA funds for the Homeless Navigation Campus. These would be funds that were previously dedicated to other projects or programs that have not been spent or allocated.
Okay, well, I rise in support of the Coombs amendment. Further discussion?
Mayor Gardner.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Councilmember Coombs paints a great picture of all this money available, but what she's ignoring, and I think what goes along with being a responsible policymaker, is recognizing part of our job is to make funding decisions with limited resources. As I mentioned in our study session, we have a capital needs list, project needs list, nearly $1 billion long. We have fire stations decades past their useful life, sometimes not working HVAC systems, sheets over doors. I could go on and on. We need a 4th police district in the city. And so it's really disingenuous to get up here and say, well, we have all this money, but completely ignoring all the other needs that we have in the city. We dedicated our marijuana revenue to funding homeless services in the city. It's a shame that funds have gone down. I wish that weren't the case. But to say that all this money can go to these services completely ignores our job, and that's to be a responsible policymaker using the limited funds that we have available. We need to address so many needs in our city. We've ignored capital projects by and large in my entire time on council, going back a long time, which is why our needs list has gotten so long. And so I think it's really disingenuous to say that there's all this money available without talking about all the needs that we have in the city. So I am not in support.
Mayor?
Yeah, Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, I hear what Mayor Pro Tem Gardner is saying, and I think, moving forward, if you've pulled all the different agenda items, and if you're going to make amendments to each one of them, we're going to get to a point where we're spending all the money. So, I mean, although I am okay with the rental assistance, for example, I'm hesitant as we move forward going through each one of these that have been pulled to end up with an amount that may be something that we can't really sustain with the capital needs that are needed. And I guess for staff, can ARPA monies be used on other things like fire station renovations? Because I think we allocated some before. So I'm just wanting to make sure that we're not overextending ourselves.
Staff, please.
I think Jason.
So, yeah, so council did set aside funding for some fire station renovations. I think that was an allowable use under ARPA, so that was an example of where those funds could be used as an alternative.
And just a point of clarification, so the current item 10A6 is marijuana fund agreement. If we were going to add ARPA funds, we'd have to come back with a separate agreement for ARPA funds. Those have different requirements and restrictions, so we couldn't just simply add to this current agreement that's on the agenda. We'd have to come back.
Mayor.
So Councilmember Coombs said we'd have to bring that back. It just, maybe this is a question of staff. It just feels that this is very late in the budget year for our partners that assist us on homeless programs, and I understand other priorities, but it just feels like we are creating some havoc in their budgets, and so I think favor a different approach whereby we really need to put them on notice that this money is not going to be there in the following budget year, but given the fact that their budget year starts, as ours does, in January 1, that just seems difficult
Mayor.
For them. Councilmember Zvonek.
Yeah, if I could. So, I think that my recommendation would be we go forward with the staff recommendations as they laid out. And the reason for that is what we know is that the marijuana revenue is diminishing. And what I think we are doing is setting a bad precedent by giving them one-time dollars to get them through for another year. It sounds like there is there's a good amount of unspent ARPA funds that we've already allocated. I think it would be more appropriate to come back at the beginning of the new year and tell these organizations to spend the budget as staff has recommended, and to come back to us if they are in fact going over that budget. Because what we've seen in previous years is that there is unspent funds by a lot of these organizations at the end of the year. So that'll give us some time to go back and look at, again, not the ARPA funds that we haven't allocated, but the ARPA funds that we have allocated but that we haven't spent the full pot of at this point, and maybe look at using that to supplement budgets as needed by these nonprofits that have come to us and ask for more than our budget currently affords. What I don't think is a good idea is giving them more money now, knowing that the revenue that we use to fund them is going to continue to decline,
Mayor.
or is at least projected to.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I am concerned that we're going to be spending money that we may need for other uses. So I would concur with Councilmember Zvonek to approve the staff recommendations tonight, and then maybe we could come back with an analysis of all the ARPA dollars, as you stated, Councilmember Coombs, if they're truly remaining, and then where can those be spent? Because we just said this has to come back anyway for any additional ads. I just would like a little bit more information. I know a lot of the organizations, Jessica Prosler sent us a spreadsheet that shows other funding sources that these organizations have also received money from, state grants, different grants. I don't know if the counties are even contributing. I'd like to know if Adams County and Arapahoe County can supplement some of the needs that we have a gap on. So I would recommend just approving tonight as is, and then maybe at our next, first meeting in January possibly, coming back with the information from staff and then making any additional awards to those organizations. Because I am in favor of giving to Aurora at Home. Just want to make sure we do it the right way.
So a question to staff then, so that if we're looking at augmenting some of these to make up for the cuts, to make them whole, leave them level, but if they're, how many of these are marijuana funded, where if we're using ARPA dollars, we'd have to come back anyway?
So we currently don't have any recommendations tonight that are ARPA funds for homeless services, so we would need to come back with any of those for ARPA.
Okay, everything would have to come back anyway. Oh, okay. Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So for the items that are here, the ones that actually had a contract at all, The amount is 1.2 million. It's not the whole 3.63. And from my conversations with staff, my understanding is that it would be about 1.8 million if we did flat funding for all of them. I think we could have some conversations about programs that staff have said, like, outreach that is being brought in-house, that we probably wouldn't fund that outside, but other than that, so that might bring the number down from the 1.8, but it's not the full amount. And to Councilmember Gardner's point, again, I very much understand the capital needs issues. We, I don't think, had appropriate conversations with our service providers about what kinds of cuts they're going to have to make, nor did we as a council, I think, have appropriate conversations about what that really is going to look like if we have to make those cuts in terms of levels of service. Again, I don't think that this sets a precedent. I think we're saying this is one-time gap funding to ensure that people can actually have shelter, as well as effective programs like goals and ready to work that are really helping people get onto their feet and stay stable after being in those programs. And then programs like Aurora at Home that keep people from becoming homeless to begin with. And again, like, we're going to be doing something different next year. A lot of these programs are not going to get funded at all because that funding is going to be channeled into whatever the homeless navigation campus looks like. That being said, it sounds like we can't augment with ARPA dollars, which is a somewhat confusing aspect of conversations leading up to today, because I was under the impression that we could do that. But with that being said, if we can't use ARPA dollars right now today, then I don't want us to go through the whole discussion. I would, however, like us to have brought back to our next meeting ARPA agreements for these providers to keep them at level funding. And then we can have the conversation if there are some that folks feel shouldn't get flat funding from last year. I think we can have the conversation as to why. But I think we need to actually have a vote on that issue. And I wish we had done so at study session, or had considered this in a more robust way at study session. That being said, I'll withdraw my amendment and we can move forward with voting on the items, and then we'll have to come back and have that conversation.
Very well. Further discussion on item number 10A6. You withdrew your amendment.
Yeah.
So further discussion on the adoption of item number 10A6. Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of 10A6.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Marcano,
Did that come through?
Councilmember Marcano?
Yes. Can you not hear me?
Yes. The motion passes.
Clerk, now please read the title of item number 10A9.
Item 10.9 is the homelessness notice of funding opportunity application recommendations, Aurora Mental Health and Recovery, marijuana.
Motion is in order. No, Councilmember Bergen.
Motion to approve 10A9.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bergen, seconded by?
Coombs.
Seconded by Councilmember Coombs. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, Councilmember Coombs.
Sorry. I just want to highlight that the shortfall for Aurora Mental Health and Recovery is $95,000 to provide flat funding from the prior year.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is adoption of 10A9. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Marcano.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Will clerk now please read the title to item number 10A13?
10A13 is the homelessness notice of funding opportunity application recommendations, Gateway Domestic Violence, marijuana.
Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
move to approve 10A13.
Moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by
Mayor, second.
Councilmember Bergen.
Lawson.
Okay. I'm sorry. Councilmember Lawson. Seconded by Councilmember Lawson. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
so the shortfall on this for flat funding from 2023 is $115,000.
Further discussion?
Oh, Mayor, I do have a question on the shortfall.
Councilmember Bergen.
Jessica, is the shortfall from last year, is it what was funded versus what was requested?
Since I'm the one giving the numbers, I'll clarify. What I'm giving is just what was funded last year versus what was offered or what was funded this year. What was requested on almost all of these is higher.
Right, okay, thank you.
So I'm using the last year funding, not the requested numbers.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of item number 10A13. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Marcano,
Yes.
the motion passes.
Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 10A15?
10A15 is the homelessness notice of funding opportunity application recommendations, Mile High Behavioral Health Care, Aurora Day Resource Center, marijuana.
Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Bergen.
motion to approve 10A15.
Moved by Councilmember Bergen, seconded by
Coombs.
seconded by Councilmember Coombs to approve item number 10A15. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
when we account for the $250,000 additional dollars for cold weather sheltering that were added in a separate agreement, the shortfall for this agreement would be $369,078.
Let me ask staff, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of item number 10A15. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Marcano,
Yes.
the motion passes.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 10A16.
10A16 is the homelessness notice of funding opportunity application recommendations, Mile High Behavioral Health Care, Colfax Community Network, marijuana.
Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Bergen.
motion to approve 10A16.
Been moved by Councilmember Bergen, seconded by
Coombs.
Councilmember Coombs to approve item 10A16. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
the shortfall in funding between last year and this year for this program is $245,000.
Further discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Bergen.
question to staff on this one. My understanding, it was not funded because it did not meet the criteria for homeless services.
We were prioritizing emergency services like overnight shelter and rental assistance and things like that. And this did not meet the qualifications that we were specifically looking at. But we saw it as important, so we still decided to recommend some.
So in the past, it had been funded, but it was funded, this time it was not funded, my understanding is because it's a literacy program versus home, no?
No, just because it's not emergency services, it's after-school programs, which is not a shelter service.
Okay, and in the past, it had been funded with marijuana monies?
Yes, and we are still recommending for marijuana funds.
Okay, thanks.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of 10A16. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Marcano,
Yes.
the motion passes.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 10A17.
10A17 is the homelessness notice of funding opportunity application recommendations, Mile High Behavioral Health Care, Comidas, marijuana.
Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
move to approve 10A17.
Moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by
Marcano.
Second by Councilmember O'Connor to approve item number 10A17. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
so the gap here, I am going to state between what was requested because it's actually lower than their last year funding. So the gap is $200,000 between what was requested and what's granted.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of 10A17. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Marcano,
Yes.
the motion passes.
Will the clerk now please read the title on item number 10A20?
10A20 is a homelessness notice of funding opportunity application recommendations, Restoration Christian Ministries, marijuana.
A motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
move to approve 10A20.
Moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by?
Mayor, second.
Seconded by Councilmember Lawson to approve 10A20. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
so the gap in funding between last year and this year is $25,000.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is adoption of item number 10A20. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Marcano,
Yes.
Councilmember Zvonik. Okay. The motion passes.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 10A21.
10A21 is the homelessness notice of funding opportunity application recommendations, the Salvation Army Safe Outdoor Space, Peoria, marijuana.
Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
move to approve 10A21.
It's moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by?
Mayor, second.
Seconded by Councilmember Marcano to approve item number 10A21. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
the shortfall between 2023 funding and 2024 funding is $35,000.
Okay. Further discussion? Question before us is the adoption of item number 10A21. Call for the questions.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Marcano.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 10A22?
10A22 is a homelessness notice of funding opportunity application recommendations, the Salvation Army Safe Outdoor Space, Chambers, marijuana.
Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
move to approve 10A22.
Moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by?
Mayor, second.
Seconded by Councilmember Lawson. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
the gap for this contract as well is $35,000.
Further discussion? Seeing
Mayor.
none, question before us is the adoption of 10A22. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Marcano.
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Sundberg. The motion passes.
Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 10C1? What's that? We moved that, that's right, I'm sorry. Adoption of the consent calendar resolutions and ordinances, item number 11A1 to 11B13.
Mayor,
Councilmember Bergen.
motion to approve 11A1 through 11A,
11B13.
11B13.
Right.
Thank you.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bergen, seconded by?
Medina.
Seconded by Councilmember Medina to approve the consent calendar, item number 11A1 to 11B13. Discussion?
Mayor,
I'm sorry, Councilmember Coombs.
I'd like to pull items 11B1 and 11B2.
Is that an amendment that requires a second? Okay. Further amendments? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the consent calendar. Item number, let's see, 11, let's see, 11A1 to 11A16, and then 11B3 to 11B15. I'm sorry, 11B13. Discussion. I'm sorry, did we move that?
He's confusing me.
Oh, you pulled it? Okay. But you moved the consent calendar first, right?
We had a motion and a second on that.
Okay.
Correct.
Very well. Further discussion. Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of the consent calendar as amended. Call for the question.
Councilmember Marcano?
Yes.
Councilmember Murillo? Councilmember Murillo?
Councilmember Murillo had to drop off. She is still sick with COVID.
Okay, the motion passes.
Will clerk now please read the title to item number 11B1?
Okay, 11B1 is ordinance 2023-51 for an ordinance of the City of Aurora, Colorado, adopting an operating and capital improvements projects budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024.
Brief presentation by staff.
Sure. We're asking if City Council would like to adopt the 2024 budget as amended or as adjusted at the budget workshop. And both the adopting and the appropriating ordinance are included tonight.
Questions of staff?
Mayor?
Councilmember Coombs.
So I wanted to ask, because we discussed this last time, about the contract rate for attorneys being hired out of the non-departmental budget for the public defender's office and the prosecution, for that matter. What is the hourly rate being paid to contract attorneys?
I don't have the full answer yet as of today. I only have half of it.
Okay, can you give me the information?
And I
you
did
have?
send out a reminder.
Okay. Can you share the information that you do have?
Sure. What I have is from the public defender, and I was waiting to send it all together, but for, let's see, they have a few. They have a contract for appeals, which is per appeal, a $2,000 flat rate. They have a contract for weekend court. That's $250 an hour, which they chose that number to be, it's equivalent to what we thought, what we planned for in the city attorney's office, but I don't have verification of that yet. We then subsequently, she says, changed it to $1,000 per weekend flat guaranteed rate. Then they have a contract with the previous public defender for ongoing legal services at $250 an hour.
Okay, so at this point, we have various information suggesting that the rate for our public defenders who are FTEs is roughly just over $50 an hour plus benefits, which at our last meeting, the budget officers said they calculate at about 30%. And we're paying instead $250 an hour for that service. So I would like to renew my motion that we move the funds that are currently in the non-departmental budget that are being spent down at $250 an hour into the public defender's budget for those FTEs, as well as converting the variable hour benefit employee in Aurora Sustained, the mental health program, into an FTE.
It seems like can you sever that into two separate parts?
Sure, we can do that. So the first is moving the funds from the non-departmental budget into the public defender budget for FTEs.
Okay. Very well. Is there a second to that motion?
Marcano.
It's seconded by, moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by Councilmember Marcano. Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Zvonek.
Yeah, just a quick question. Given the amount that the public defender is spending, it sounds like they're on pace to be over budget. And so I'm just curious if staff knows how much the department is projected to be over budget this year, given these costs that are above what their current rates are.
They won't be over budget. The first few that I mentioned are included in their budget. And then the others are included in the non-departmental budget as part. When we put the FTE over there, we told them you could use this for weekend court, and you can use it for any sort of backfill, temporary, I should say variable hour staff that you need to backfill with, as long as they lived within that dollar amount. So it is being covered by non-departmental and the city budget. And they're well under the amount that was in non-departmental.
Okay, thanks.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of the Coombs Amendment to the 2024 budget. Call for the question.
Councilmember Marcano?
Yes.
Councilmember Moody, sorry. The motion does not pass with yes votes from Councilmember Medina, Councilmember Marcano, Councilmember Coombs. That's it.
To the second Coombs Amendment.
Mayor, so the second amendment is to convert the variable hour benefit eligible employee to an FTE, and that's the mental health professional that is currently the only mental health professional in the court.
Is there been moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by
Medina.
Seconded by Councilmember Medina. Discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So I believe there was general support for increasing this position at the budget workshop, but I did not see that that was changed. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that conversation, but that folks did support increasing the hours of this employee.
So I'm going to look at Jackie. I thought we did add funding.
We did add $30,000 to increase the hours. So we made it a variable hour, 30 hour to a variable hour, 40 hour.
Okay. Then I stand corrected.
Do you withdraw the amendment?
Yes.
Very well. Amendment withdrawn. Are there further amendments to the item number 11B1? Seeing none, further discussion on the adoption of the 2024 budget?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
I continue to not be able to support a budget where we're spending $250 an hour on positions that we could be spending $50 an hour on.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of item number 11B1. Call for the question.
Mayor, we need a motion and a second, please.
Mayor.
What's that? Oh, Councilmember Bergen.
Motion to approve 11B2.
Wait, I'm sorry, 11B1.
Sorry, 11B1.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Bergen, second by
Zvonek.
Councilmember Zvonek. Further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of 11B1.
Councilmember Marcano?
No.
Okay, the motion passes.
Will clerk now please read the title to item number 11B2?
Item 11B2 is ordinance 2023-52, appropriating sums of money to defray expenses and liabilities for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2024.
Brief discussion, brief presentation by staff.
Yes, and this is the same type of thing where, once it's adopted, we have an ordinance for appropriating the funds.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, the motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Bergen.
motion to approve 11B2.
Moved by Councilmember Bergen, seconded by
Jurenski.
Councilmember Jernsky to approve item number 11B2. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
I continue to not support this item for the same reasons as stated, that we should not be spending $250 an hour on something we can get for $50 an hour.
Further discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Zavoni.
I just want to point out that when we're voting against this, we're voting against all of the priorities that are set forth by this budget. So we want to hold it hostage because we don't want to have the patience to wait and see if, in fact, there could be a significant cost savings by moving our public defender's service to a contract basis. So I think it's a pretty petty move to hold the entire budget for the city of Aurora hostage over this. But be that as it may, here we go.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question, I'm sorry.
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell. Or,
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, I'm sorry.
What? Nope, you are incorrect. You had
He's right the first time.
sir.
Please proceed.
No, I just wanted to push back against that disingenuous framing that we just heard and correct the record for the public's best interests. We already know the answers to how much outsourcing this service would cost. It is a tremendous amount of money, far more than we are currently spending with our public defender's office. And I just want to remind the public that this was done for vindictive reasons when we had members of the public defender's office, to include our former chief public defender, come out against some of the policy proposals that Councilmember Zavonic brought forward. So this has nothing to do with good government. This has everything to do with political retribution. And I support Councilmember Coombs' stance on this matter.
Mayor.
Councilmember Zavonic.
Yeah, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but not their own set of facts. And the fact of the matter is, in this case, there was a study that was done, or a presentation that was brought to council by the CABC that showed a significant cost savings or potential cost savings. At that time, we asked the city manager, then Jim Twombly, to do a cost analysis to determine whether or not the presentation brought to us from the CABC was accurate or not. It hadn't been done, so we have then since asked our interim city manager to issue an RFP to again determine whether or not there could be a significant cost savings from shifting the way that we provide public defense in the city to a contract basis. I have said repeatedly that if it came back and shows that that isn't the case, that we wouldn't move forward with anything. I don't know what people are so afraid of with doing this RFP. If they're so confident that it's going to show that there is no savings, then let's just hurry up and get it done so that we can move on with this. But my assumption is that they're fearful that it will in fact show a significant cost savings, and that will lead to us having the responsibility of asking the question of whether or not we should go to a contract basis or not.
Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
This issue is not about the RFP. This issue is about the money that we are currently spending on contract defense. So the RFP is a separate issue that's already been put out. The concern that I have here is that we're currently spending that money on contract defense at a higher rate. And my understanding is that that is also the same rate that our city attorney is paying for contract defense as well for the prosecution.
Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of item number 11B2. Call for the question.
Councilmember Marcano?
No.
Okay, the motion passes.
Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 11B3? What's it?
So,
Oh, I'm
Mayor-
sorry. Yes. Okay, we're doing better than I thought. All right. Let's see. Item number 17A, council appointee selection and appointment, city manager.
Mayor?
Councilmember Bergen.
I have a question on this. In the past, I don't know if there was a rule change that I'm not aware of, but in the past, council has the prerogative to appoint our appointees whenever we would like to. So our appointees are for the Business Advisory Board and for CABC, the Citizen Advisory Budget Committee. And I've never been told that I have to do it at one particular meeting. I will hold off on my appointments. I actually probably will keep mine, but for right now, I'm not going to make any Oh, it's for you? Okay, well, I'm mistaken. I thought this was for council appointments.
Okay. So it's,
April Fools.
will the clerk please read the title to item number 17A?
17A is council appointee selection and appointment, city manager.
Motion is in order.
I'll make that motion.
Councilmember Bergen.
Motion to approve 17A.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bergen, second by Councilmember Zvonek. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the approval of item number 17A.
Councilmember,
I'm sorry? Councilmember Moncano.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're behind me, it's
I
kind of
just
hard.
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to say that I think we could not have chosen a better person for this position. I think that the city of Aurora is in good hands as long as we have this individual as serving as our city manager. And I encourage my colleagues for a unanimous yes vote.
Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yeah, I will concur that we have a great city manager that we're about to appoint who has represented the city over a number of years as the interim and in other capacities, and happy to be able to appoint you as the city manager.
Soon to be an Aurora resident. Further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on the adoption of item number 17A.
Mayor Kaufman,
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Marcano.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Mayor has no report. Councilmember Lawson.
Mayor, I have no report either.
Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Mayor, no report. Thank you.
Councilmember Jurinsky.
No report.
Councilmember Zvonek.
No report.
Councilmember Murillo. Councilmember Sundberg.
No report, sir.
Councilmember Medina.
I'm going to stop y'all. So yeah, I attended a ceremony of the Falck, the Pros Rangers, Fire Department, and Dispatch at the Aurora Reservoir around how they all work together to save two of our citizens by utilizing their skills with their rescue. Working, one of them, the dispatcher, helped an actual citizen perform CPR on one of our citizens and was able to get him back before our Falck and Fire Department were there, and same with the other gentleman. So there was a ceremony to congratulate all of those first responders. So thank you.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. First, well, really all I want to say is that it has been an honor and a pleasure to represent Ward 4 over the last 4 years. I want to wish good luck to the incoming Ward 4 council member and good luck to all of our residents. Keep an eye on everything that's going to be happening over the next couple of years, and I will see you all on the flip side. Have a great night.
Councilmember Coombs.
No report?
Councilmember Bergen.
No report.
Seeing no further business, before the regular meeting of Aurora City Council meetings adjourned.